Good afternoon, everyone. My name's David Caruso. I'm a colleague of Professor Williams, who just spoke to you about the law degree, and I also teach in the law school at the University of Adelaide under the umbrella of the Faculty of Professions, and I wear a few different hats. So I'm also a practitioner of law with a firm called Fisher Jeffreys. We're a large commercial law firm in South Australia, and I'm also the President-elect of the Law Society of South Australia, and that means I'll assume the top job from 1 January next year. But what I want to talk to you today about is the Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice. Does anyone have any idea what that is? I assume if you're in the room that you have aspirations to do a law degree and then practice as a lawyer, at least as an idea. Is that something that's on the cards? The GDLP is the diploma that you do following your law degree, which actually gives you the right to practice in South Australia and through various schemes that operate to practice in any jurisdiction, in any state or territory of Australia. Effectively, a law degree teaches you how to think, teaches you the substance of law, procedural elements of law, whereas the Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice actually teaches you how to practice law. For example, when a client walks into the room and says, I have this particular legal problem, I've fallen over in Woolworths, the police have given me a fine they shouldn't have given me, all of those sorts of matters. The Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice is what actually teaches you how you commence, what you can do on their behalf. Who do you write to? Which court do you go to? Accordingly, it used to be that the Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice was offered by the Law Society of South Australia. And once you'd finished your degree, you'd come into the professional and membership body for lawyers in the state, and we would teach you the practice of law. But because there is such an intersection between the Academy of Law, where you do your law degree, as well as the practice of law in the profession, the law school and the Law Society of South Australia now offer the GDLP jointly. So for many of you who are just entering university, this is correct, yes? GDLP is a little way off. You finish your law degree before you'll be embarking on the Diploma in Legal Practice, but it is something to keep steadily in mind because it is an essential part of practice in this country to do the GDLP. Before I launch into more about that, Michelle, my lovely assistant here, is already helping from the Law Society. Michelle I should introduce as the GDLP coordinator for the Law Society. So the Law School and the Law Society have various people that work together to deliver this program. I think, for those who don't know, the Law Society has been around for a little while, 1879, and really what we want to say to you as you think about a career in law is that the Law Society is effectively your career partner. And it really is that from even before you actually become a legal practitioner, now offering the GDLP jointly with the law school. Because for those who don't know, it's a difficult marketplace for many professions and many who are looking for a career at the moment, and law is no exception. Once you've finished your studies, for those who are studying now, it's always the hardest step in your career to find that first job, that first entry point into your chosen career. The Law Society is particularly astute and particularly aware of the difficulties that younger lawyers, younger practitioners face in finding their first job. So from the moment you finish your actual tertiary study of a law degree to entering into the Diploma of Legal Practice, which gives you the right to seek admission as a legal practitioner and therefore be able to give legal advice, the Law Society is there to guide you along the way, tell you how the process works, open up doors and opportunities and advices to where you might apply for your first job. Will you work in a large commercial law firm? Will you work in a suburban practice? Will you work in a regional area? Will you work overseas? Will you work in family law, criminal law, taxation law? Will you not work as a lawyer but as an in-house counsel for a particular company? Again, maybe Woolworths, maybe Qantas. All of these options are those that hopefully, when you are thinking about legal studies, perhaps somewhat on the horizon, but are options that you can think about. And the Law Society in particular, because our membership covers all of those fields and all of those practices, are able to help you in terms of where you might start looking, where you might first think about your first foray into the law. We're also a bit of fun, you know. We have our annual dinners, social events. When you first finish your law degree and you finish your GDLP and you're fully there, you've gone through the pomp and ceremony in the Supreme Court, and Mum and Dad have come to see you say that you're now a practitioner of the highest court in the state. We then, for example, have a welcome event, a few canapes and drinks and cheers to welcome you into the profession and celebrate your achievement. So we're a professional as well as a membership body. Next slide, please, Michelle. Entrance into the law, into the legal profession. As I said, you're going to commence your career by completing an undergraduate law degree, an LLB at the University of Adelaide. Then you'll enter into a graduate diploma in legal practice. And this is delivered in partnership with the Law Society. One of the benefits of having the partnership with the Law Society is during your time at law school, you'll be exposed to a number of legal academics who are leaders in their field. Occasionally we'll have guest lecturers from the profession, those who actually practice law as solicitors in firms or as barristers in courts. Does everyone know the difference? Yeah, seen them on TV. Barristers are the ones that in the UK shows wear the funny wigs and the black gowns. But in the graduate diploma in legal practice, you'll have complete exposure to those practitioners. So it's very much a program which is moving you from the academic side of the law into the practical side of the law, hence the partnership. After you've completed both of those with success, you can gain direct admission into the South Australian legal profession. And it will probably be something whereby when you're 4-5 years down the track, who's thinking of maybe doing law on another degree, a double degree? Yes? So you're going to be studying, going to be wandering around this beautiful campus on North Terrace for a while. And hopefully some of my dulcet tones will still be in your memory in 4 or 5 years down the track. But what it actually does is, having completed the LLB and the GDLP, you're admitted as a practitioner of the Supreme Court. There are things that come with that. For example, you have the right then to witness official documents. After you've gained that admission, you're then able to apply for a practicing certificate. And a practicing certificate gives you insurance. So just like when you go and see a medical practitioner who's insured, so too there's a similar scheme for law. So hopefully some of this will settle in, and you'll see effectively what we're trying to show here is it does take a few years, it is a longer term project, but this is the pathway into law, into sitting in your office as a legal practitioner. I should say that if anyone has a question at any time, you're welcome to put up your hand. I'm one of the lecturers, as I said, in the law school, and this is not an unusual environment because we have a number of students, but I'm not quite accustomed to having 2 microphones on at the same time. Even for me, that's overkill. So please feel free to ask questions in between if you'd like. Enrolment, what's in it for you? These slides are prepared by the lovely Michelle, and obviously you can see in terms of enrolment, in terms of delivery, in terms of finish times, I'll deal with each of those in short, but what's in it for you is you'll be able to practice law. And without it, you won't. It's that simple. The legal profession is one which carries a lot of responsibility for the community at large, and therefore entry into it is a considered process. It involves tertiary study as well as study of practical requirements. In terms of how the GDLP is delivered, and again, the Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice is the acronym, the enrolment is straight from law school. So previously, for those who came before you, it was a more difficult process because there was no connection, direct connection, between the law school and the Law Society. That's now all changed, and people like Michelle and her colleagues at the Law Society, just like colleagues from the law school, are in both places at the same time. So you'll be able to go to them, and easily when you come to the end of your undergraduate law studies, it'll be a very smooth transition into the graduate diploma to see your full admission. No upfront costs. When I did GDLP, more years ago now than I'd care to remember, you actually had to pay for it up front. It was a lump sum payment. It was not a hexable fee. So it was an additional financial burden. It's not the case anymore. We now include GDLP, just like your undergraduate legal studies, as part of your HECS debt. So yes, you do have to pay, but it's one of those costs that at least doesn't look so scary on a piece of paper with a lump sum payment. Delivery of the GDLP is much like delivery of your LLB. I'm not sure if... Would anyone here for Professor Williams' talk about the law degree? Did he go through how we deliver law in our university now? So it's what we call, I think the pedagogical language that we use now is called blended learning. So you have online as well as in class. So for example, when you do your undergraduate law studies, one of the subjects that I teach is the laws of evidence, which is the last course that you'll do in your LLB. Once you finish evidence with me, you'll be eligible to enrol in GDLP. So I'll be there with you the whole step of the way. But those lectures, just like this one, are recorded. You have the option to come and sit in the lecture theatre and look at me as I carry on to you about what all the laws involve, or we record the lectures and you can go through the software and the interfaces that we have at the university and listen to me carrying on while you're riding a bus to the beach. With GDLP, I cannot stress to you enough that whilst it is accessible, whilst it is deliverable, and even though for many of you it's probably 5 years away, let me be the first to tell you GDLP is something for which you wish to turn up in person. And as a lecturer in the law school, I try and reiterate that it's always nice to see faces in classes. Law is a profession whereby we are engaged with people. It is built on the ability to communicate and be with people, to understand them, to look them in the eyes, to feel sympathy, to feel empathy, to be able to communicate to them. You can't do that if your modus operandi in law is to listen to everything online. Sometimes it's a convenience, but from the get-go, from your first day in the law degree to when you come to the GDLP, understand that one of the critical skills of any lawyer, if legal practice is your career path, is to be able to communicate and to be able to actually be face-to-face with your fellow human beings. You can finish in 5 months. I'm sure all of you now are hopefully looking forward to embarking on a tertiary career at the university. Make the most of it. Don't be too anxious to rush through university. Take up all of the opportunities, particularly those amongst you who are considering law. There are multiple things that you can add to your law degree. It's not simply about learning a set of laws of criminal law, a set of laws of evidence law, of family law, of constitutional law. It's about indulging in student exchanges, in conferences, in university life. Similarly with GDLP. By the time you get to it, you may be thinking, oh, I'm ready to get into legal practice now, let me get through this. But once again, each step along the way of your law degree and your legal career prepares you for the next. So never brush over them. The way it works, and again, this is a long way off, but do think about it in terms of what the structure of the course is, because it reflects what your LLB, what your undergraduate law degree involves in terms of learning a syllabus of law. It's just that the GDLP has a higher practical focus. It involves courses, so you'll be once again in the very law school that you completed your undergraduate law degree and hearing from a wide variety of practitioners within South Australia who will come and speak to you about the various subject matters of law. It also, very importantly, involves a placement. So again, one of the practical elements of being ready to be a lawyer is to actually be in a legal practice, to come into a firm like mine, for example, Fisher Jeffries, to go into a legal practice in government perhaps, and actually learn how the law works, actually see how the lawyers are doing each of their duties and to contribute to it. I will, for example, take you to court, not as the other side, as an assistant. You will fill in documents, you will do each of the tasks that a lawyer has to do in their day-to-day legal practice. And that placement, remind me Michelle, is for 30 days? 30 days. So a 30-day placement is part of the GDLP course in which you'll actually be placed in a firm working with a senior practitioner to actually see how your legal studies, everything you've learnt on paper and on the books, translates into the real world of legal practice with people coming in and out of your office. CPD, as lawyers, you're going to have to get used to a lot of acronyms. So you've got LLB as your undergraduate law degree, you've got GDLP as your graduate diploma in legal practice, and CPD is something you begin with GDLP. I'm going to run out of alphabetical letters in a moment. But you begin it with GDLP and it carries on for the rest of your legal careers. What it stands for is continuing professional development. So after you've completed your law degree and after you've completed your GDLP, we in the profession don't simply say, well, now we know everything. Now we know everything. Having studied for 5 years and 6 years, 20 years later, I'm sure we've learnt enough. No. Part of our responsibility as practitioners, as lawyers, to the community we serve, is to actually make sure that we are constantly updating ourselves about legal developments and changes. And as you'll come to see from day one of your legal studies, it is a discipline in which one has to keep constant pace with legislative changes, changes made by judges deciding cases differently, changes made by different strategies, different options taken by your clients. So the discipline of law is one in which you must be prepared for a lifetime of education. But hopefully, because you're here, ready to embark on tertiary study, a lifetime of education is something to which you actually aspire. In terms of the courses, there are 5 core courses and 2 electives, but they're something to look up. I should say that everything about the GDLP is actually available online. So if you'd like to look at more about it afterwards, again, it's the long-term plan, but if you're here today thinking, I'm here today because I want to be a legal practitioner, it's a plan with which you should familiarise yourself from day one. Core courses: Foundations of the GDLP, Professional Obligations, Civil Litigation, Property Law and Commercial and Corporate Practice. Why are these core courses? Well, I can tell you that in my firm, Fisher Jeffries, which is a large commercial law practice, we have 3 divisions. And those 3 divisions are litigation, property and corporate and commercial law. They're critical divisions amongst any practice in South Australia that covers a wide gambit of law. If you're working for smaller practices, obviously, they might not have a property division. They might do litigation, they might do family law and criminal law, but they're fundamental to the 3 key areas of law that concern a lot of matters with which the community is concerned. Foundations of the GDLP is obviously preparing you for how the course will work, and Professional Obligations is probably the most important of all the core courses. As a legal practitioner, once again, I can't stress to you enough the responsibility you carry. You are, for example, dealing with other people's money. You are dealing with things very close to them in terms of not only their personal status, it may be a medical claim, very close to them in terms of their financial obligations, very close to them in terms of their interaction with the state. Have they done something which is potentially a breach of the law? The way in which you treat your clients, the confidences you keep, the way in which you manage their expectations is fundamental to not only you as a legal practitioner, but the whole of the legal practice, legal profession, because each one of us is a representative for all of us. Elective courses, again, some of those subjects whereby some firms will do them. Some firms, for example, will do them exclusively. There are many practices which only practice in criminal law, only practice in family law. And there are some practices whereby other areas of law, wills and estate, planning and employment will be part of what they do. Each of those are courses in which you can select 2 in order to further your knowledge of the practicalities of how the law works. In other words, if someone comes to you and says, I've just been charged with running a red light, I want to contest it, what do you do? Criminal law practice is an elective which will give you some insights into that. Coming back to the placement, as I said, this is something which is of concern to, for example, my graduating students. The world of law is a difficult marketplace, just like any marketplace now in terms of your first foray into a career. All of the firms, is mine up, there we are, Fisher Jeffries has got the tick, I'm glad to see that. All of these firms participate in offering placements to you. So once you enter into your GDLP, we actually put you with these firms so you can see how legal practice works. And some of them are large and some of them are small. Some of them have government relations, obviously the Attorney General's Department. Some of them have specific client bases, the Aboriginal legal rights movement. And some of them have particular specialties. For example, Tyndall Gass Bentley, which does a lot of work in personal injury law, for example. From those lists, those participating firms, we also ask you where your interests lie. So hopefully you can be associated, put into a firm where they do the sort of law that you would like to further in your career. Your study counts, yes. At the university, for those, I'm not sure if John went through it with you, but as I said, there are many ways in which to immerse yourself in your university life and your education beyond simply attending your lectures and seminars. At the law school, we offer clinical legal education. That's where you can actually have one of your subjects be to participate in legal advisory clinics at the Magistrates Court. So as part of your study, you'll go there and you'll be part of an advisory service. People who have smaller matters, who need some advice, will come and ask you for help, and you'll be under the supervision of senior legal practitioners who will be around the place so you can ask them a question. But effectively, it's a subject in which you can have direct contact and experience in giving legal advice. Internships, there are a variety of internships that the Adelaide Law School offers. We can place you, for example, in native title services. We can place you, for example, at the International Court for the former Yugoslavia, so overseas internships with UN-based bodies. All of these, as well as clerkships you do on your own merit and application throughout your law degrees. Before a placement, you may simply apply to a Fisher Jeffreys and say, "This is me, I'm in my 4th year of law, I'd like to be considered for a summer clerkship." So come in February and do 4 weeks worth of work experience effectively. All of these can be counted towards satisfying the requirements of your GDLP. But as I say to my current students, in the law, one of the most rewarding things is to have your experiences across a wide variety of legal practices, especially when you're young, in terms of your entry into the law, when you're still studying. So never back count. Never retrospectively count in order to tick a box going forward. Take every opportunity. If you've been lucky enough to do each of these, clinical service in the Magistrates Court, an internship overseas, and a clerkship at a major law firm in South Australia, when it comes to doing your GDLP and you think 5 years, jump forward 5 years ahead and say, "Oh, I'd really like to just get into legal practice." You have your whole lives to be lawyers, to be in your careers, to go to work. Take every opportunity now to broaden and diversify your experience when you're first entering the profession. The benefits of the GDLP are primarily that maybe one day, in 5 or 6 years from now, you may have your face on one of these slides to an audience I'm addressing. We'll take a pretty picture of you and you'll be here. There are many benefits of the GDLP in terms of advocacy training within the courts. So has anyone entertained the idea of being a barrister? Seen the TV shows and thought, "I'd like to get up and address a courtroom, like to make an argument to a judge, like to make an argument to a jury"? If you have, or if it sounds a little bit scary now but you think, "I'll be brave," part of the GDLP actually involves, not a Sunday but a Saturday, going to our courts in Victoria Square, and the courts are cleared and the judges come in, and we actually run mock advocacy trial sessions where you get to appear before the judges and run a case. And the only difference between the case you run and a real case is that no one will actually go to jail at the end of it. No one will actually lose money. So it's a wonderful training experience for anyone who entertains the idea of actually being the barrister, the person who appears in court on behalf of the client. Again, through GDLP, you get to meet many people in the profession. South Australia has a small legal profession compared to our larger counterparts on the eastern seaboard. The number of practitioners in South Australia is around 4,000. I think just over 4,000. So it's quite a small profession. Most people know each other. Most people have worked with or against each other. And key amongst those working relationships is respect and collegiality. GDLP is the first chance you have to meet the practitioners with whom you will spend your career. For those of you who think, well, I'm Adelaide born and bred, so I'm going to the University of Adelaide to begin my career, to begin my studies, but I would like to entertain the idea of perhaps practicing interstate. Maybe one day I'll figure that I'd like to be closer to the MCG, or like to be able to look out over the Sydney Harbour Bridge from my office. The GDLP, commencing your career at the University of Adelaide with the Law Society of South Australia, in no way prevents that. In fact, it's a wonderful start, because if you are Adelaide born and bred, your own South Australian Adelaide legal profession is the best form of support for when you're first trying to be part of the legal profession. However, down the track, through mutual recognition schemes in particular, you can practice across the country. And in fact, there are many practitioners who enjoy very successful careers and practices across borders. They'll have a matter in Adelaide, then a matter in Darwin, then a matter in Perth. There is ample room to not only practice as a law, but if you like the idea of being a little bit of a travel bug, law is a great career for us, satisfying your travel desires. In terms of the Law Society, once you're admitted, no matter where you're practicing, but particularly if you're staying in South Australia or if we welcome you back, there are a number of functions we fulfil. So having completed GDLP, the Law Society will see you through to your admission. So when you go into the Supreme Court, you read out your oath and you're actually admitted and accepted as a practitioner. In the Law Society itself, there are a number of committees which, particularly as younger practitioners, will support you along the way. So, for example, the Young Lawyers Committee fulfils many functions, some of which are social. So, for example, organising breakfasts so you can hear from senior practitioners and meet and keep in touch with your fellow peers from law school. Once again, another lesson which really, everything I'm saying to you, I think I would have preferred to lay greater emphasis to when I was sitting where you were, which is that you will meet many fine scholars, many practitioners of high repute in your legal studies, many people who have achieved a great deal. But as you go through law school and as you first enter the profession, the people who are probably most important to you are the people who are sitting beside you now. They will be your confidants, they will be your supporters to see you through what is a demanding degree and what is a profession with a heavy responsibility. So to be part of that committee ensures that you'll always have that support network. And of course, we will, one more acronym. We couldn't go past another acronym. MCPD, for those playing at home, you'll remember that CPD was continuing professional development, and I told you that it began with GDLP. Why? And that it would continue throughout your careers. And the reason it continues throughout your careers is because of the M, mandatory continuing professional development. So in order to retain your right to practice as a lawyer in South Australia, you must complete a certain number of hours of continuing professional development each year, so that we as a profession can be ensured that each of us is keeping pace with legal developments. Thank you, Michelle. Now, where are we? We're actually, look, everything that is good and fun in Adelaide is on North Terrace. I say that with a particular bias of the University of Adelaide and the Law Society. But after you've finished at Elder Hall, and hopefully you've all gone past Benithan Hall as our main graduation ceremony, where in a few years' time you'll actually receive your degrees. You can continue, you go and see the art gallery, you go and see the museum. I'm probably talking to everyone from Adelaide, so you know this. But if you make your way down to where effectively the Myer Centre is, that's where the Law Society is. So in that small building, just near the alleyway, on level 10 and level 11 is where the Law Society operates. And so many of you, I'm sure, will be will come to be familiar with the Law Society, because something that I should mention, although I may be preempting a slide. Let's see what the next one says, Michelle. Nothing. Well, in that case, I'm not preempting it. I should leave you with the fact that for many of you, this is a long way off. If you're considering studying law and entering into legal practice, one step at a time, and savour each step. Entry into the undergraduate law degree, attendance and fulfilment of all the core courses and elective courses of the undergraduate law degree. Most importantly, participation in all of the additional opportunities that the law school affords you, from exchanges to being involved in the law student society, whereby you can do competitions so you can build your legal skills and you can network with your peers. Being involved in clinical legal advisory services, taking up internships, seeing if you can actually find your way into the legal profession by, for example, writing to a set of barristers' chambers and saying, can I come and do some research work? Participation, as well as completion of the essential requirements. Following completion of the laws of evidence, then you'll enter into GDLP, and then you'll start being placed in firms to actually develop your legal skills in a practice over a sustained period, and meet and further meet and build relationships with legal practitioners. However, once you have entered into your LLB and you can call yourself proudly a law student of the University of Adelaide, the Law Society of South Australia actually offers free membership to law students, whereby you can access all the services that the Law Society has. You can look at the committees which complete certain work, and you can participate and be informed of all the work the Law Society does on behalf of the profession. Everything from advocating to government to organising functions whereby we come together as colleagues. So I encourage you, once you step into the law school perhaps next year, to remember the Law Society as the university's partner as well as your partner in your legal careers. So best of luck. I hope for those of you who are considering a career in the law that's been helpful, and I wish you well in your studies. I hope that one day I'll welcome you as a colleague.